Are you struggling with a difficult client right now? Maybe you're feeling so frustrated with them that you're just ready to end the project and fire your client. Well, before you do, there's something you should know. The problem might not be them, it could be you. In this video, I'll explain why. So it was 6 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I had just come out of the movies. We'd just watched Rush Hour, can't remember which one. And I looked at my phone and there was an email from my client in all caps, and I knew as soon as I looked at it that it was bad news. So here's what had happened. I was designing a WordPress website for her, and the beginning part of the project where I had designed her branding had gone really well. She was thrilled with it, I was thrilled with it. That was my area of expertise. But my website design process was a total mess. It was a hot mess. And she was pretty much disgusted with my unprofessionalism. So you see, back then, I wasn't using a project management tool. So we sent about, when I checked, it was about 77 back and forth emails across dozens of threads. And it was all very confusing, not just for me, but for her. It was very hard to find attachments, feedback. It was just a big mess. We'd used a pre-made theme for her website, and I had just totally forgotten to tell her that there were limitations with what we could do with this theme, and that also my area of expertise wasn't coding, wasn't development. So there were certain things that she was asking me to do that I had to just keep telling her, no, I'm sorry, but I can't, or no, I'm sorry, but I'm not capable of doing that. And that just led to me disappointing her again and again and again. To top things off, she was constantly sending me Facebook messages or emailing me at different times of the day, which is, nighttime for me. I'm based in the UK and I think she was in the US at the time, and expecting me to reply back ASAP. And the whole thing was just a nightmare. She sounds like a nightmare client, but the truth is that she wasn't the problem. I was. It was my fault that she was disappointed, my fault that she was angry, that she was disregarding my boundaries. All of it was just my fault. And maybe you're wondering why, so I'll explain. It was my fault because I hadn't set boundaries and set her expectations up front and continued to do so. I wasn't organized and I definitely wasn't professional. Going back to my story, after I read that email, I was crying, I was tearful. My friends took me to the pub and I had a bit of a cry over a glass of wine. But yeah, I had a bit of a whinge and I just went on and on about how picky she was, about how unreasonable she was. I think I even vowed that I would never work with clients again, that I was gonna go back to a day job. But the truth is, now I am grateful for that client. She made me realize that I couldn't keep charging my clients thousands of dollars and giving them such an unprofessional client experience, such an unorganized experience. That would make me a nightmare freelancer, the kind of freelancer that clients tell horror stories about across dinner to their spouse or their friends, and I just did not want to be that type of designer. If you can resonate with this and maybe you're struggling with a difficult client right now and you really want to fire that client, I want to encourage you to pause and ask yourself these two questions before you do. Number one, did I outline boundaries and set client expectations up front and continually throughout the process? So your boundaries are things like your work hours, and client expectations are things like telling them up front how long they can expect it to be before you get back to their messages and emails. It's not good enough to just state these things up front once. You have to continually state these things throughout the process in various places. So not just in the initial email that you send them, not just in your welcome packet, but in your client consultation, in your contract, in your project management tool if you use one with your client. And if you don't have a contract right now, you really should. But if you don't, then I have a great one that I always recommend. So I will link to that below this video. Okay, moving on to number 2. Before firing a client, I want you to ask yourself, was the process I took them through as organized as it should be? If your design process is unorganized and chaotic, it means that your client is going to be confused. You are going to be all over the place, asking for information that you should have asked for at the start of the project, missing deadlines because you underestimated how long this project would take. You're going to seem like an amateur. And when you do seem that way, your client has a right to get annoyed. The thing is, your unorganized design process could be the thing that caused your client to become a nightmare. You have to own up to that and do something about it so that the next time you take on a client, they don't end up becoming a nightmare as well. If you need help, I have a totally free course called Project Management for Designers that will help you to make sure that your design projects flow smoothly and professionally, and help you to stress less and wow your clients more. So I'll link to that below. Now, if you've asked yourself the questions that I just told you to ask yourself, and it's not your fault, the client genuinely is a pain in the butt, then by all means go ahead and fire that client. If not, then hopefully I've helped you to see what you're doing to frustrate your clients and turn them into nightmare clients. And hopefully provided you with a few ways that you can stop this kind of thing from happening to you again in the future. Like I said, go ahead and join the free course if you need help whipping your client process into shape. And if you enjoyed this video, then I would really appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up and comment on this video to tell me what you liked about it. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.